Okay, so this is the final lesson for the JBSN Media Bootcamp, where we would be looking at print design. Okay, and when we talk about print design, it's basically the physical bit of our designing. So whatever we design on the PC, on the phone, is going to be digital until we actually decide to print it out and actually get that physical bit of it. And it's very nice when you print out your designs or your digital works. You actually feel that it gives you a good sense of feeling. Okay, especially when you are printing on different surfaces with different textures, and when you are printing on different widths and sizes and resolutions, it challenges you to be able to do more, and it also challenges you with redesigning the things to also fit the physical presence. Okay, so we would be looking at that. I am Stan Tiepwa from JBSN Media, and I'll be taking you through the print design, and that would conclude our lessons for the entire JBSN Media Bootcamp. Alright, so for today, I'll be going through everything that you need to know to ensure that your print designs will come out just as you have envisioned, okay, or just as your client has envisioned. And the first thing we would be looking at would be resolution and DPI, that's dots per inch. Now, the best way to illustrate this would be in Photoshop, or would probably be in yes, Photoshop, or any graphic designing application that you have. And so once you're about to create a design, if it's in Photoshop, they'll ask you for the dimension first. If it's in Canva, you would be asked about the dimensions too as well. Okay, so that is about that. All right, so this is Photoshop. Okay, usually once you come to your image here, we have the image size, we have your canvas size. But once you want to create a new, or if you are about to create a new document, these are the things that you would see. Okay, I think I have explained these things in our previous video. However, we would still go through, and we wouldn't be technical about any of these things, but I'll give you straight to the point what you need to know about this. Over here we have the width, we have the SI unit, or the units, okay, which is in pixels, inches, centimeter, millimeter, point, picas. We have the height here, we have our resolution, we have pixel per inch, pixels per centimeter, our color mode, bit mode, background content, the color profile, and we have our pixel aspect ratio too as well. Now, all these things that you see here are the things that we consider when printing. Okay, beginning from the width, so we know our width and our height. So a client comes to you and specifies that, oh, okay, my wall is 200 by 500. So you know you are doing 200 by 500, where the height is going to be 500 and the width is 200. For a wall, well, probably that's a wall space, which means it's going to be a portrait orientation. Okay, if the longer side was 500, would have gone for this instead, which is the landscape orientation. And now the next thing we'll be considering is what units. Is it 500 inches, 500 feet, 500 centimeters, millimeters? Now usually with physical things, they might come with centimeters or feet. and so you'd have centimeters over here, and you'd see automatically Photoshop will convert it into the width for you, or will convert it into the centimeters, which means that the initial one we're dealing with was in pixels. Okay, so once you change it to centimeters, you would be looking at punching in the width and the height that the person said they needed. Now because of multiple trials and errors, we know, or that we've come to know, that once your width and your height is very high, that's once you consider the pixel width. Okay, once you convert it to pixel, if you get something which is very high, this is what it means. It means the canvas you are working in with now would be very big, and also it will take a lot of pixels, or the pixels will be the very tiny boxes in your canvas. Okay, and if you are going to have pixels being about 59,000 by 23,000, that's very big. For beginners, you'll be wondering what's very small. Very small that your PCs, an average PC can run with, would be between 1080 to about 3000. Okay, so about 3000 will be okay. So if you want to work with a 3000 by 3000, that's fine. Once you start going more than 3000, know that you'd have to change some other parameters so that your PC doesn't run slow. So you'd watch here that if I create a 3000 by 3000, over here at the bottom side, you will see I have the resolution is 300 pixels per inch, and my document size is approximately 51.5 megabytes. Now if I should create a different one, okay, using the centimeters, and I'm still going for my 500 by, say, 500. Let me just cross check. So this is 3000 pixels, right? So I say 3000 pixels, and we are converting to centimeters. It will most likely be the same. But what if I was using 3000 centimeters, and I'm using 3000 centimeters here too as well? Okay, you see that the maximum Photoshop can even take is 2540. It shows you that it's very big and very huge. So once I created, this is what I get. I think it's still loading. It hasn't been able to create that size yet. That alone should let us know that it's way too big. Okay, so what do we do? What do we consider? First of all, I've given you the pixel width that you can use. The maximum you're looking at is working with 3000. Okay, 3000 should get you everything going okay. Now the resolution is how well you can zoom in layman terms, is how well you can zoom in to get very sharp images. Okay, so if I use a resolution of 300, I'm able to zoom in very well to get very good stuff. But that doesn't mean that if I bring a picture which isn't sharp, it would still remain sharp. No. So resolution, how best we explain it here at JBSN is, when you use Google Maps, you are able to zoom in from the satellite all the way down. Okay, because the images have a higher resolution. They may not have the width, and the size may not be big, but the resolution is very huge. Okay, and so if you see a resolution of about 10,000, you should know that it will be very huge. Now that resolution means that you are going to have about approximately like 10,000 pixels per square inch. Okay, which means that there are more details there, or more data can be written within the individual boxes. So the higher the resolution, the sharper the image would be. So what you do is that between 72 to 100, you should have good resolution. Okay, if you are doing it for a very high print, for electronic billboards which are very big, you may go all the way to 200 or 300, but that's your range. 100 should serve you well. So once I do, for now I would maintain this as 500, maintain this at 500, we'll use pixels and we'll go with 72-inch pixel per inch, and we'll see the size we would get. So we are getting 1.43 megabytes for this, and for let's use 300, sorry, this 500, and we'll choose 500 by 500. This time we'll use the resolution of 300. Okay, all other parameters will be equal, and this time around we are getting 1.4 to 1.4. Okay, 1.43 megabytes approximately. But this is the difference now between this one and this one. When I type the word T, okay, so I'll just type the word T, make the word black in color, then probably make the text 50, or I'll go very high. I can go as high as 500 too as well. So this is my text, and this is my text at 500. Okay, I would copy this text over here and paste it here. Okay, and we have this, and it's pretty much the same. Now once we start zooming in, okay, you see it's already getting pixelated. Okay, once I started zooming in, it's already getting pixelated, and you see that. Let's compare with this one. Okay, which means the font choice was bad. So I'll go for Times New Roman. Let me show you. So I'll go for Times New Roman regular. Okay, so we go for Times New Roman regular font and place it at the corner, and we are having this. And I will go for Times New Roman here too as well. Let me just copy. So I'll copy it, come over here and paste it. Yes, and this is what I have. Now see, it's very pixelated. Now within these pixels, this is what makes up the resolution. This is what makes up the number of pixels. And so I'm talking about 500 pixels for this image, which is 500 being, if I count these tiny boxes, I should get 500 from this, the corner to the end. Okay, so what does this mean? Because our pixels are small, okay, whatever we do, even if we are able to have a high resolution, like remember, like the Google Maps, you can zoom in and still get enough details. So with the resolution we play through when we are zooming into this image, okay, that will be done after we render the image or we save the image. But if the pixel is low, you might still get something blurred. Okay, now the next thing that you consider when you are doing the print is this. When you are setting your canvas, is to consider the color mode or pixel per inch. Now when you are using pixel per inch, remember that the inch is bigger. So if I am saying I'm having 300 pixels per an inch, it means that I'll get just 300 pixels within an inch. An inch is bigger than centimeters. So if I'm going to use centimeter, the value will be smaller. Okay, that's why the conversion is smaller. Now when you want to use 300 pixels per centimeter, it means that image will probably be more sharper. But truth be told, all these things we are saying for social media flyers, you really need them. You just need to go with your pixel per inch and you are good to go. If you are working with very large prints, sometimes you may consider using pixel per centimeter, but 300, like I said, is high enough. For other works, 72 is fine, 100 is fine. If you are going to do large prints, 300 is fine. Now for color mode, RGB is what the phone screens and digital displays uses. However, for print, CMYK is the color that would be used. Okay, but these days CMYK colors aren't, the printers themselves are able to convert the colors to the CMYK from the RGB end. So at the end of the day, when you print, even with an RGB color, you should be good to go. Color profile also affects the colors of the work at the end of the day. Okay, so sometimes once you convert, usually working with sRGB or the normal should be okay, or Adobe RGB should be okay. But once you change the CMYK color, you change the color mode to CMYK color, usually the difference may be a lot. Okay, so I think that is mainly about pixel print design. But this is what happens. Now this image has a very small resolution, unlike this one or the pixels. Over here the pixels are 1080 by 1080. Over here the pixels here is 500. When I paste my picture over here, this is what I'm getting. Okay, when I paste my picture over here, this is what I'm also getting. Okay, why is that so? It's so because this whole canvas is 500 by 500, but the image is about 1000 by 1080 by 1080. So I have to now reduce the size before I get that 500. And once I reduce the size, the image will start to look blurred. You would see that at this point, okay, you would see at this point this Father of Mercy Ministry over here is blurred. The set October over here, all the Genesis and all everything here is looking blurred. Okay, now let's come here. Let me also resize. So I resize this one too as well. And now let's look at if it's clear or sharp. It's also blurred, which means that over here the pixels, the resolution does play a role, but not it doesn't really do much for us. Okay, which means that the pixels really play a role. That's why I have 500 pixels, which is very small. 500 pixels like a thumbnail. Alright, so that means that to get this picture very clear, I'll probably have to zoom in all the way like this. At this point, it's looking very clear, but that's not what we want. Okay, we want the image to be as sharp as this, and you see that with this image, when I zoom all the way in, it's getting blurred at this point. Okay, so what you do is that you consider these things. If you have to print it on paper, what you do is that you try and convert it. So a paper, let's say 24 inches, will probably be an A4 sheet, 24 by I think 20. I've forgotten, but it's about 24 by 20 something. So when you do it that way, now look at this. So this is probably like an A4 sheet, and I've pasted the same flyer here, and it's looking very small. If I enlarge it, what happens to it? It's still a bit clear, okay, because the image was 1080 by 1080. But what if I pick this image here and come and paste it over here? Look at this. This is very small here now because it's 500 by 500. If I should enlarge it, this is what I get. Okay, so if I should enlarge it, this is what I get. Alright, you can see over here that it's very pixelated as compared to the other one below it. What is this? What is the importance of this to us as designers? Now this one means that when we go and pick, when we want to print an image on a very big canvas, okay, you have to make sure that the images were designed in the first place is sharp enough. And so we took directly from here, and we have this one. So this is the main one, this is the actual one, so this is the original. You see that the original is still maintaining the sharpness a bit. So the original pixel is 1080 by 1080. So this original file, okay, which was taken from here, it's 1080 by 1080. Okay, and the pixels, you see the resolution is 300 pixels per inch, which is quite sharp. And so when we zoom in, we are still getting that. But when we came over here, we reduced the image size to conform the image to 500 pixels. And now that 500 pixels here, okay, once you bring it back to a large print, or you want to go and print it, and your pixels are very small, yet you print it on a very large print, this is what will happen. your image design will be very blurred. Okay, and you don't want this for large prints, or you don't want this for previewing on very large screens like a 4K screen or something. A 4K screen will be having things looking blurred because the resolution that you used or the pixels that you used weren't good enough. Okay, so that is how this affects our choice when we are designing. Sometimes after designing, you may have to redesign or re-put all the elements on a bigger canvas. Okay, and sometimes we have tools which can help us scale up some of the design. So this is very low, the pixel is very low. We can scale it up with some of the AI tools online, and that should get us clear pictures like this. Okay, so you take note of that. When you print also, sometimes the color will change, and I've spoken about the CMYK and the RGB color. So when I convert it to CMYK, the color will probably change a bit. Okay, so this is CMYK colors. I've adjusted my mode over here to CMYK colors, and it didn't change here. When I go and print it, it may appear exactly how it is. That's how CMYK colors are, sort of. CMYK colors mean that whatever you print is whatever you will get. This is from CMYK, and if probably if I pick a color from here, sometimes there are differences, but so if I pick a color from RGB and bring it to CMYK, sometimes you may see the difference, sometimes you might not. So at this point, this is for people with good eyes. So this is the one with CMYK. You can see CMYK right at the top here, and this is the image which is RGB. Look at the RGB here and look at the CMYK here. Okay, there are very subtle differences, but what I have seen over the years is that RGB colors are very vibrant, whereas CMYK is dull. Okay, slightly dull, slightly pale. Okay, you will see that I can choose the brightest of this color, copy the RGB, copy its color like this. So let me go with this color, very bright, and I'm on my CMYK, and I come to my RGB and I paste the same hex code, but I can see the difference. The one on the right is way brighter than the one on the left. Okay, so that's the difference, and so that changes it a bit. Okay, so that's about CMYK. That's the color mode. This 16-bit is basically about the color range. How many colors do you want in your spectrum? Okay, so basically 8 or 16 is good. If you use 32, your phone devices can't really tell the difference between the 16 and the 32 unless you have some very good 4K displays and they're able to display the 32-bit colors. Okay, so but that's all about printing and designing. Okay, all right, so to conclude, basically sometimes you would want to look at the bleeding and safe zones. Bleeding and safe zones is where you don't want your elements of the important things of your design to be within 3 millimeters of the design you are doing. So you want to keep everything in the middle a bit, not too much at the edge, because sometimes once you print it, some things will be cut off. Okay, sometimes you want to also consider your typography. For instance, you are creating a food label with a list of ingredients, and you want to make sure that the font size will be readable enough and bold enough to print clearly. Okay, so on social media, the person can just zoom in, pinch out, and you can just see the thing you are writing. But once you are considering printing, make sure your fonts are very legible, making them bold or making them bigger. Okay, and sometimes you also want to look at the image quality, and so sometimes we think the best what we do is that we export it as PDFs. Okay, because once you export it as JPEG is a compressed format, and so once you export it as JPEG, you may get some blurriness, you may get some pixelation as we have seen. And so example, you have a high quality look on a chocolate bar wrapper. If you use the TIFF or use the PNG or the vector files, you get very good things with enough details. But if you are using JPEG, maybe the quality of the print may differ. Usually it would. Okay. And one other thing is that when you are sending images for print, don't send them to WhatsApp as images. Send them to WhatsApp as documents. Okay, there's a difference between send as a document and send as the HD version. Okay, so try as much as possible to send as a document. And the quality of the picture doesn't depend on the size of the picture too, so also take note of that. And sometimes with the paper types are different, and so you may want to consider if it's a matte paper, glossy paper, is a recycled paper. The difference is mainly because some of the papers have different finishes. If you want white, know that the machine, most of the printers can't print white, and so if your paper is looking brown, whatever white there is in your design, it will be replaced by the brown color of the paper. Okay, so sometimes when you have that in mind, you know how to go about your printing. Paper sizes and colors may be different because of the client's budget and so sometimes you want to take that in mind. Sometimes to printing, they may refine the print, or they may add extra things like gloss effects or lamination just to make the colors come out well. So sometimes you can just add some foil or glossy metallic look. Okay, so when you bear all these things in mind, whilst you're doing your editing, it really helps you get what you want for your page, your client. Okay, and next you have print proofing and testing the printing. So before printing thousands serial boxes, just request a sample print. That will help you confirm if all the elements are packed, if the bleeding is correct, if all the elements that how you structured is how it's going to be. If something has shifted, for instance, on the serial box, you are creating a serial box design, something has been shifted slightly, you can confirm that with your proof testing first before. Don't forget to export all your files in the form of PDF for printing. And also, unlike digital design, where you can add animations or interactivity, print designs, you benefit a lot from simplification and clarity. So you know that once you are going print, it has to be clear, clarity, and clarity will come when you follow the principles of design, the contrast, the hierarchy, and all. Okay, so a minimalist, you want for a minimalist granular bar wrapper, you would want to limit the elements to just mainly the logo. Okay, because at the end of the day, you are looking for something clean, something visually striking. You want to see the granular bar from afar, like, oh, this is it. Okay, too many things on it may confuse us once you print it. However, if it's if it's a digital design too, sometimes it may be appealing. Okay, but once you print it, sometimes it's way off. So to summarize everything, remember that print design would usually require attention to the details. Okay, like the color modes, the typography used, and the file format especially. Okay, thank you all for this lesson. This would probably be the last lesson for the JBSM Media Bootcamp. And this lesson would actually affect your final JBSM group project. Okay, that's why we have to do this lesson, because most of you would be editing. We will be giving you different criteria where the print is, where you are going to different criteria for the sizes and all. Okay, so with this knowledge now, you should be able to do the best when we ask you to design something for on an A5 paper. We say design something for a large print where it's about 10 feet by 20 feet. Okay, thank you all.